tip of the week is I don't often recommend this because putting saucers under plants, under containers, sometimes it's sitting in water, and boy, oh boy, it's not good for the root systems. It builds up salts. It does all sorts of things. You get root rot. Mm-hmm. But, however, I am finding my containered cucumbers need extra help. They need that saucer underneath there because they suck up the water very quickly. And when I do water and I don't have a saucer under there, it just kind of runs through. So a saucer under your plants in this hot weather probably is a good idea. Mm-hmm. Plant of the week is sunflower. My sunflowers are out now, doing well, and sunflowers are a fabulous plant for not only just for the sunflower seeds and for the birds and things like that, but they're just very, very attractive and pretty, and a large plant for the most case. We've got some smaller ones too, but the big, large, giant ones are kind of cool to have. Oh, they're lovely. Attractive pollinators too. All right, I also have a tip in a plant, and my tip of the week is that, you know what? It's time to spray your tomato plants with food-grade calcium. We talked about this quite a bit last show, and it's kind of carrying over. As the temperatures rise, the plants tend to grow faster and faster, and the tomatoes are actually growing faster and faster. And with this speed increase due to the higher temperatures, the tomatoes are eating up a lot more calcium than what they normally do. So you can pick up food-grade calcium at your local garden centers, and you spray the entire plant top to bottom, fruits and everything, with that product, and that'll help to reduce the chances of getting that blossom end rot that drives everybody nuts. One of those issues that is a curable issue. All right, I also have a plant of the week this week. My plant of the week is the white stargazer lily. I have white stargazer lilies that are blooming right now in the garden, and they are lovely. They're about 3 feet tall, pure white flowers, and just so fragrant. The fragrance is just wafting through the whole area, and it's just a beautiful thing. So I just love those white stargazer lilies, and it's something that's fun to grow and beautiful and very fragrant. All right, that's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com and Grower Coach on YouTube. Right on, Ken. It is thick of gardening season. We are really, really quite busy out in the garden now, keeping things moist, watching our water consumption, as being as responsible as we can, following the rules. Making sure that we don't water on off days, making sure that we don't have water running down the street. Not a good plan. And just really being careful. But on the other hand, the plants need water. And so that's what we're doing. Yeah, it's a challenge, sure. And that's where, when you're selecting new plants to add, we definitely want to be adding plants that are known for their drought tolerance. Yeah. It just makes life a little bit easier. And it just happens that a lot of the really good plants out there that are also really good long bloomers just happen to be deer resistant and drought tolerant. Yeah. So there's a ton of them to choose from. And some are just awesome and long blooming through the summer. It's something that I think we should talk about today is that right now at this time of year, there's not that many things blooming out there. And it's nice to find something that's in bloom. Let's talk about that. But first, we're going to talk to David. He's phoning in from Penticton. Good morning, David.
Yeah, good morning. What's your take on self-watering pots?
Oh, well, yeah, I've used a lot of them over the years, and I'm not a huge fan. They are I always say in the case of an emergency, in a way, like if you don't have any way of getting automatic water to your planters and you have to go away, that's when I kind of lean on that type of a planter. But there are many different types, many different varieties. We used to use a variety called Lechuza. They were very expensive from Germany, beautiful planters, looking gorgeous, but were also what they would call self-watering. But they're... they don't really work so great. Ultimately, unfortunately, is that when you water a planter, it's really nice to water down through the top and have it go down, trickle through, and percolate down through the soil. And then the excess water sort of coming out the bottom, it pulls fresh air into the soil. You can add fertilizers and nutrients, and you're not worried about salts building up.
That's the big deal, isn't it, Ken?
Yeah, because every time you water, it's just washing it through, and you get this really nice effect. So
salt buildup is one of the silent killers of plants, in particular house plants, but also also container plants outside. That's why I'm not a big fan of the self-watering pots.
Because I've been wondering, since you mentioned that saucer thing, what came to my mind right away was, isn't that kind of the same principle as a self-watering pot, where you have the water at the bottom and then the root system can suck up what they need after?
That's right. But as I said, I did prefix it with I don't often recommend this. but in this heat, I have found I've got a cucumber in a pot, and this is what spawned this little tip of the week. I've got a cucumber in a pot, and it's doing very, very well. But boy, oh boy, I can soak it. I give it a whole gallon of my Hawes sprinkler can in the morning, and in the mid-afternoon, I'll go out there, and it's just drooping, like it's sad, you know? Mm-hmm. And so what I did was I put it into a saucer, and that water that washes through, the gallon of material that I put in there, that water that washes through would normally just run down off the bench and onto the ground. It sits in the saucer, and by George, by the morning, that water is gone in the saucer. It sucks it up. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not recommending to constantly have saucers under your plants necessarily. And if you do, you want to empty that excess water out
periodically.
But at this time of year, when it's so hot, I mean, we're in Kelowna and Penticton. I mean, you're enjoying the same kind of weather as we are, and that is like 35, 36, and up to 39 coming up tomorrow. There's so much evaporation going on, and that's the reason I do it. I don't recommend doing it all the time.
Because I've noticed too, some municipalities have these big pots, you know, and to save them from watering every day. I think some of them are self-watering, and they're huge pots, and so I thought they might work pretty well then.
Well, larger planters are better than smaller planters in a lot of ways, but the whole thing is about oxygenation, and that just means that the roots breathe oxygen and they don't perform well being submerged in water. And some of these planters, what they do is they fill up and fill up and fill up, and then every time you're watering, they keep filling and filling, and sometimes the plant's not using the water fast enough, and then you end up having this like a swampy it's anaerobic sort of situation, which means no oxygen, right, down at the bottom. And then any roots that are in that anaerobic situation will perish. They will just die. And then you start root diseases and stuff. Exactly. You know.
And I can add to that, too. I mean, when you're watering in a self-watering pot or a pot with a saucer on it, you can back off a little bit on your watering. If you're constantly like the city of Kelowna had a system going for many, many years in their hanging moss baskets. They had a saucer inside the basket, inside, and that held quite a bit of moisture so that in the daytime when they water first thing in the morning, that watering lasted through the day. But they're exposed. It's a moss basket. There's lots of evaporation going on, and it was necessary. But they also have to be careful how much water they give it. I was just at a client's home the other day. Beautiful garden. She just does a heck of a job in her garden. But one of the questions she had was her hanging baskets. She had those fiber baskets, you know, the round fiber ones, and it was lined even with some black poly inside with some holes in it for you know. But oh my goodness, the petunias were just kind of stalled. They weren't really, they weren't dying, but they were stalled. And one was a little better than the other. She was on automatic. How much are you watering, dear? 4 times a day. I put my hand underneath the basket, and it was just spongy. It was just full of moisture. Yeah. And plants have to breathe. Ken, you've talked about that so often. Roots need water, but they need oxygen too, unless they're water lily.
Yeah. Well, I hope this information is helpful to you in some way.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was only a big bonus altogether, but you brought out some of the other side of it. So okay. Thanks for bringing.
Thank you for the call. We appreciate your call. And it's not a panacea, is what we say.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye now.
Thanks for calling.
No pun intended. Anyway, I know. We're going to have to take a short break here. We do invite your calls. We love to talk to you folks because gardening is our passion. And anyone out there that even, I often say, are you a gardener? Well, they're always afraid to say I'm a gardener. Everybody that has a little plant in the house, on the shelf, on the thing, you're a gardener. So let's get going. We'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. We're back with you on a sunny and bound to be hot Saturday morning here on the Garden Show. And plants struggle at this time of year with this kind of heat.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting as we got this hot summer, especially here in the Okanagan, and then we get into fall and the plants just take a deep breath and they go, "Oh my goodness, isn't this lovely?" What a relief it is! Yeah,
exactly. Well, those high temperatures, once you're we're going to be, I'm sure there's going to be areas that are over 40 degrees Celsius today. That's very hot. And, that late afternoon is when it's the hottest. Yep. So that's when you really have to go out and do that hand watering at the end of the day and feed. Hotter it gets, more food the plants need.
Observations to just keep an eye open for things, folks.
Yep.
We have Linda calling in from Summerland. Welcome to the show, Linda.
Hi. I planted scarlet runner beans in a pot, just 3-4 seeds. Mm-hmm. The plant is doing fantastic. Yeah. I've got lots of flowers, but they drop off, and I haven't got one bean.
Yeah.
Is there anything I can do to save that?
Not really, but they will set eventually. It's typical of these climbing beans that they kind of they'll flower, but they won't set fruit until the temperatures cool down. They don't like it when it's too hot. So what happens is the flower comes on quickly and it sheds quickly, but it's just, you'll see as soon as, typically it's right around the end of July or early August, you'll get the nights cool off a little bit, and we get a few, all it takes is about 4 days of cool weather, and bam, they will start setting fruit, and once they set it, they'll come through to fruition.
Yeah, I've had that before too, Ken.
I've had them before, and they're just like crazy, and that's what I was expecting. But anyway, so
they'll come on. Patience is.
I'm doing the fertilizing, once a week. I put 20. Is there anything else I could put in there? And then
just
really
patience.
Yeah, it'll be so you'll have beans by September. It'll be awesome. They'll be loaded.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
great.
They'll carry on.
I was almost ready to pull it down.
Oh, don't do that.
It's a nice plant. It looks beautiful. But thank you very much.
Okay, dear. Thank you for the call.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
My beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. My beautiful bean plant that I got from Jack.
Yeah.
It's from Barcelona. It's gorgeous. It is just. It's like Jack and the Beanstalk kind of thing. However, I haven't had any blooms on it yet. So this is, it's a heat.
You're experiencing.
They will. I had that same thing a few years ago.
My pole beans are blooming like mad, but all the leaves are getting eaten off because the deer keep coming through and eating the leaves off them. So it's kind of a pain. So I've got these super skinny looking things growing up the poles or up my trellis, and it's covered with flowers, but just hardly any leaves left. And that's kind of frustrating. But as I was just saying, I'm just going to be patient.
Few cool nights.
Yeah. Yep. And they're saying the end of next week now, they're saying 25 degrees Celsius.
In Kelowna.
That's lovely.
Just perfect. Perfect weather.
That'll trigger those beans. You bet.
We are going to talk to Sandy. Good morning, Sandy.
Oh, good morning. Thank you for your help. I listen to your program every single Saturday.
Thank you, dear.
Fabulous.
This is for a friend of mine who decided to grow tomatoes from seeds of a tomato that she particularly enjoyed last year. So she did everything the right way, I gather, and grew these beautiful tomato plants loaded with tomatoes. But they're not ripening. They're just green. They're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Where are you located?
I'm just north of Victoria in
Saanich.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, right. My tomatoes are the same way right now. I've got lots of green tomatoes, and they're not ripening up. I've got 1 or 2 varieties that are starting to ripen. My sun dippers are starting to ripen. So it's a little early.
It's a varietal thing.
Yeah, it's a varietal thing. Yeah,
Thank you.
They'll come on.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting impatient here.
Well, this is a person who's never done this before, and she was so excited after she went through the cleaning the seeds, drying the seeds, and she just thought she might have done something wrong. But thank you very much.
It's going to be interesting to see if she gets the exact same tomato, because it might have been a hybrid that she was dealing with, and you may not get the same tomato.
Okay.
That's just the way it works.
And some of them are 60, 70 days to harvest, So,
really?
So depending when that fruit came on, it's about 2 months to ripening. So.
Oh, thank you.
So that's just another thing is if they're coming on right now, like if you have small tomatoes right now, they might not be ripe until the end of August or early September.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Oh, thank you so much. After all that work, I guess she thought she might have made a mistake.
No, just like we were saying, patience. That's right now. Everybody has to be patient.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, dear.
Yeah, thanks for calling. Bye-bye.
Yep.
Bye.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is something we get a little anxious when something's not happening. And for instance, this I can't remember the name of this darn thing. It's a cucurbit type of plant. I got it from my cousin Ross McLeod. He gave me a seed, and it's got a very interesting. It's called bitter fruit or something. It's a cucumber type of thing. And for a long time, that plant just sat. I had it on my trellis where I quite often put some climbing thing like a morning glory. And I sat there, and I thought, what? I just about yanked it out, and by George, in the last 5 or 6 days, it's starting to push new growth.
Nice.
It's just all of a sudden, okay, it's hot enough now for me. This is a tropical plant that needs the heat. So, we are in a certain climate here in Kelowna, in Penticton, in Victoria. We have our own microclimate going on in our areas. And we're growing plants that some of them grew in South Africa, some of them grew in Mexico, some of them grew in Alaska. So
I think that's something, just thinking about that in the Victoria area particularly, that they don't have those consistent hot temperatures. So even with a tomato variety that should be ripe in say 50 days or 60 days, if they're not getting that consistent heat, they might stretch that out a bit. Maybe it's not going to be 50, 60 days. Maybe it's going to be 70, 75, or 80 days just because they're not getting the heat, So temperature is a big factor when it comes to these things ripening up or producing flowers, like you say, or whatever the situation. The climate's kind of steering that plant. There's some genetics involved. I mean, if you get a variety, you're buying it for specific, attributes. But ultimately, a plant is still just a plant, and it's not like a computer that's programmed. It's going to be exactly 50 days, and then this will happen. But if you get a whole bunch of cold, rainy weather, well, this is just going to delay the whole program. Knock it back for a month.
Talk to a farmer. Talk to a farmer, whether it's a prairie farmer growing wheat, or it's an Okanagan farmer growing grapes, or tomatoes, or vegetables, or fruit trees, or whatever. Every year is different, and every situation is different. It's no consistent. My dad used to talk about a crop that they had back in the 1930s in the greenhouse, this bumper crop that they had. And they tried to duplicate it. They tried to do the same thing. This bumper crop. I forget how many. I wish he was here so I could ask him. But he used to mention how many tons from those little greenhouses of ours they sent to the cannery. How many tons of tomatoes they sent to the cannery.
And that 1 year was just a record breaker.
Yeah, and they couldn't duplicate it. What did we do? How did we do that? The plants almost have a mind of their own sometimes.
Well, I notice that in the vegetable garden too, where sometimes when the first year that I plant things, like in that location, and I do everything right, the plants really leap. And then if I try to grow the same plant in that spot the next year, it's almost like the nutrients that were specific to that vegetable have been zapped.
They've been used up.
Yeah, if it was carrots, it's like, well, carrots used up all the stuff that carrots like. And now the next year, hardly any of that is left. So then, you plant something different in there, tomatoes or something.
It's a rotation thing.
Yeah, keep them. And that's the other reason why rotating is good. It's not just for pests and diseases, but it's for nutrients as well.
When you have a garden the size of mine, which is very small, rotation is a little difficult.
It's challenging, yeah. And that's where container growing is an excellent alternative,
Yeah. we're enjoying it. It's got those sweet potatoes that we got from Teresa Hodge are really going nuts. They're just flowing all over the place.
Fabulous.
They're really having a good time. And I got them in where I often have had my regular potatoes. Mm-hmm. I don't think flea beetle will get on sweet potatoes, will they?
No. Different
It's
animal.
a wholly different genus.
Yeah, I think they only go on the nightshade group, this Solanaceae, which is tomatoes, potatoes,
right.
and so, any of the weeds that are related. Haven't seen them on the deadly nightshade weed, even though it's related. But maybe, I don't know, maybe that's where it's coming from.
Well, we invite your calls, 250-862-2525 to get through us locally here in the Kelowna area. 1-888-780-4273 is a toll-free number to call from anywhere you're listening to the show. I think we'll take a break now. We're going to take a short break here at the bottom of the hour. Probably have Dan Bruce come on for a few minutes here when we come back with The Garden Show after this short break. Well, we're back with you again, and I'm just getting used to that new intro music and know exactly when to jump in on here, and I think we're doing okay. We have Donna from West Kelowna phoning in. Good morning, Donna.
Good morning. I just caught a snippet of, did you have a list of deer-resistant plants?
Well, we were just talking about how there's a lot of really great deer-resistant plants that are available. And the list goes on, and sometimes it gets shortened a little bit as the deer eat something. But it's a little bit of a difficult thing. But there's definitely plants that the deer don't prefer, and then there's plants that they just won't eat. So there's sort of this, I always do it as a percentage, so 100% deer resistant, 98%, 96%, 90%. Once you go below 90%, it's pretty much not deer resistant anymore.
Is that on your site? On your site?
On our website, growercoach.com, we have some stuff in there on deer resistance in the blog part. But I would say that information is available. I'm working on compiling it all right now, and I'm hoping to get some sort of an e-document available so that it's just available on our website.
I've got a great list from our good friend Mary Fabrice out in the Mission. She's got a really good list of because she's been monitoring this for quite a while.
She tries different things too, but sometimes with success and sometimes not. But that's how you learn, right? Is that you try different things. But I've been doing that now for 35 years, trying plants, and because I just happen to have been taking care of large properties where the deer population on the property was like 16 or 18. They live there all the time, and so they know where to snack, and they come over to the roses, and I always found that interesting. So how I identified different deer-resistant plants was just through trial and error in a way, but also like when in this one situation where we had like a whole rose garden, and it was all carefully fenced in and everything to keep the deer out because roses are one of the favorite deer foods. And then one day the fence got broken down somehow or something, and the deer got in there, and it only took the one night. And you know what? They just cleaned up all those roses except for one. And it was a Meadyland red. I think it was called either Scarlet Meadyland or Red Meadyland rose, and they would not touch that thing. And like when you see all these different varieties eaten and that one not eaten, then I'm identifying that as a deer-resistant variety. Now, the same thing with
those
hydrangeas. I did the same thing with hydrangeas. I had a planting up in the Vernon area that was... I had about 7 different types, like different species of hydrangeas in this big planting, and the deer didn't touch them for years. And then all of a sudden one day the deer found them, and they all came in at once. They ate every hydrangea except for one. They ate all around it, and they wouldn't even touch it. And I thought, well, that's interesting, and it was a completely different species. So then I identified Hydrangea serrata as a deer-resistant hydrangea because that was the one they just wouldn't touch.
Yeah, because I'm tired of buying plants as a trial. I just like to know
what to get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, feel free to send an email into ken@growercoach.com, and I can send you what I do have. I do have a couple short lists that are just sort of quick ones to work from. And if in some cases, like we have found in certain neighborhoods, some plants were 100% deer resistant in this neighborhood, but only 98% in this neighborhood, then I would write on there, I would say in brackets, 98%
wow,
or something.
that's crazy. Yeah,
it's just weird. Like whereabouts do you live?
In West Kelowna, in a gated community.
Oh, okay.
Who has resident deers, and we can't get rid of them.
And they probably have the code to get in.
That's a good idea. We should change the gate code.
Yeah, exactly.
Put up a sign, like deer not welcome. Yeah.
Okay, I have another one.
Sure.
I bought these patio cucumbers, and I've never had a problem with anything and in a pot, and they've both now died. They had sort of a few little white spots on them.
Yeah, so
and they never did grow, really.
Yeah, the white spots are usually sunburn, or sun scald, which
so maybe too hot for them up on the deck then.
Yeah,
are they little tiny spots, like tiny? Yeah, that might be some thrips. I've been dealing with that.
On the fruit or on the leaves?
On the leaves.
Was it on the leaves or on the fruit?
No, it's on the leaves. I never ever got anywhere near fruit.
Yeah. I've been battling thrips this year.
Yeah.
And so you want to get your hand lens out and look. Well, these are gone now, but
yeah, they're gone.
I've got a feeling. I've had in particular on cucumbers. Mind you, once I got my cucumbers out of the greenhouse and outside, I haven't had an issue outside, but I'm still battling it inside the greenhouse. But yeah.
Well, I might try again next year, but so is there a spray or something that you get?
Well, I use a very non-toxic kind of a low impact spray, one of the synthetic pyrethroids, like, you can buy them as a spray, tetramethrin, and that is what's inside the thing. It often just says home and garden spray, and it's available now in the garden centers. All the rest, all the organophosphates and all that, they're all gone. The diazonons and the malathions, they're all gone. But it is good. But this particular thing is quite effective, and just look for tetramethrin or permethrin or resmethrin. These are the active ingredients in these materials. So, okay.
Probably if I ask in the
I'm sure somebody can help you there. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, dear. Thanks for the call.
Calling.
Yep.
You
thanks.
bet.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. And we have our friend Dan Bruce calling in. Good morning, Dan.
Hi, how are you?
We're well. We're well, good. Nice and staying warm.
Mm-hmm. That's not difficult.
No.
It's
I had
great.
somebody ask me if it was hot enough to work outside in these days, and I said, yeah, it's getting there. Just about hot enough.
Well, I was thinking about several years ago when I went on a tour to Egypt, and I got down into the Valley of the Kings. And the Valley of the Kings in Egypt was cool compared to this.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
But dry.
Dry.
Yeah.
But then we're not exactly moist here.
No, but why? The Valley of the Kings in Egypt? What time of the year were you there?
Well, that was in April, I think. April.
So that'd be kind of their spring, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's their latitude?
Oh.
Come on, Dan, you should know this stuff.
I don't.
I was just wondering why it would be cool there. Mind you, April, this is their spring, so yeah.
It was hot in the Valley of the Kings.
Oh, okay.
But compared to this, it was quite cool.
Okay.
This
walking around and in no discomfort.
Yeah.
Anyway. So deer resistance. I don't have the problem because I have a deer exclusion device.
Yeah.
Two of them, actually, they're called red heeler dogs.
Yeah, that's right. Most people that have a dog on the property don't have a deer issue.
No.
Unless it's a tiny little Chihuahua or something.
But even German Shepherds, sometimes they're so nice. They actually go out. I can recall seeing a small herd of deer actually on one of the properties I was just talking about with the dog out, and they're all eating the dog was eating grass and the deer were eating the weeds and stuff. It was like they're just all grazing together.
They're grazing together. That's
it's not a red healer. That's the thing.
No, it's not a red healer. No, I that wouldn't occur here, I don't think.
I don't think so.
Now, Dan, I've got a question for you because you know so much, but I don't know if you know this. What do you call a swarm of ladybugs? Like you know, a flock of seagulls and a herd of elephants?
Don't get me started on that group name thing, because it's completely ridiculous. I mean, you've got a lot of ladybugs. It's a bunch.
Oh, they call it a loveliness. Loveliness of ladybugs.
Yeah, fine.
Okay.
I was driving into town the other day, and the loveliness hit the windshield of my car. No,
I don't want to get you upset here now.
No.
Okay.
But I had something this week, but it'll have to wait till next week.
Okay. Well, that's good. Not good, but we'll be looking forward to it next week.
Okay.
We'll have to let you go because we're right close to the break time here.
We are.
Okay, buddy.
Okay.
Take care.
Right.
Okay.
Bye.
Yeah, Dan. Oh my goodness. So he doesn't like the grouping things. No. How about a murder of crows?
Yeah. That was written in some book at some point, and then
murder of crows.
Somebody picked up on it, but it was
they're
all made up by somebody, right?
Yeah, I know.
It's just made up by somebody.
Yeah,
so.
a flock of seagulls.
It's still a flock of crows because they're birds.
Yeah. Okay. But I like the loveliness thing of the ladybugs. A loveliness of ladybugs.
I don't know. I think I'm on Dan's team there on that one.
Anyway, 250-862-2525 to get through to Dan and I, to Ken and I today. Holy mackerel. That's a faux pas right there. Mm-hmm. The trumpet vines, the Campsis radicans are doing well right now all over town.
Yeah,
they're really bursting with color.
Yeah, they're in their full glory right now, which is a bit early as compared to other years, but they are temperature lovers. They love it when it gets hot, and it gets hot early. They're up and going.
We've got Leslie calling in. Leslie, we're going to take your call here, but we might have to break for a commercial break in the middle of our conversation, but we would love to talk to you. Leslie, good morning.
Yeah.
Hello, Leslie.
There she
Hi.
is. Hello.
So I found this spray, and it's called Bobex.
Yes.
It's BOBBEX.
Yes, for deer resistance, to keep deer off it.
And anyways, the one day the deer was out there, and I give it a good spray right in the face.
It's not quite how it's used, Leslie.
And they've not been back since.
There you go.
I imagine.
Well, that's pretty cool. I've never heard
spraying for deer.
So it's a spray, and when you pull the trigger back, hold it, because it'll keep spraying.
Wow.
It was amazing, really, because, we couldn't have anything out here. They would absolutely destroy it.
That's the first I've heard of that, and it's certain it's not toxic, so it won't hurt the deer. But boy, if it's doing the job, what the heck, eh?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, I guess they just associate your property with that experience, and that's it. I'm not going there.
Oh, yeah. They won't.
They have tiny little brains. That's the whole thing. Tiny brains.
But anyways, I wanted to pass that on.
You're a giant. We appreciate the call. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, dear.
Thanks for calling. Yeah, bye-bye.
That is the first I've heard of that. That's pretty cool.
That is the first, yeah.
We're going to have to take a short break here, and we'll be back with your calls after this short break with The Garden Show. Well, Ken and I just had a debate about hot pepper and whether it burns or not burns. I mean, it burns. It makes you feel like it's burning. But I'm a trained professional.
So
I've put hot pepper on every parts of my body you can imagine, and I'm still fine. And nothing turns red. Nothing turns red. I use a lot of it, and
I don't recommend it. I would just say that on.
It's not going to hurt you. I'm telling you, it won't hurt you. I've had enough. I mean, I remember.
Warning: do not touch your eyes while using this product.
Do you remember when I? Well, we're just thinking of the Bobex on the deer's face, but
yeah.
Anyway, when years ago we had the garden center in the lunchroom. Somebody came in with a habanero pepper. Okay, and I've always loved hot peppers, and I took half of this hot habanero and I just chewed it. Well, I pretty much went into convulsions. On the floor, it was just, oh man! But I had no sign of burn on my mouth or anything. It was just telling my brain that it was burning, and the capsicum, and then the endorphins came out. So after all the staff was quite worried about me because I'm rolling around on the floor, and they're bringing me hot or cold towels and compresses and everything, and then all of a sudden I'm in euphoria.
Of course, that's because you didn't die, so you came that close.
No,
missed it by that
the
much.
endorphins started pouring out, and I just felt like I was in heaven. I was in heaven.
That was a close call. You just about didn't make her.
There you go.
Do you hear about the guy who's down in California? He created that new pepper this year. It's called the California Reaper, which is something like 80,000 times more potent than the ghost peppers and all that stuff. And anyway, it's a new one, and it's several million joules or whatever they measure it on.
Gigajoules.
Gigajoules, whatever. And so what he did was he was talking about it on some show, and then he said, "Oh, I'm going to try one," and he just popped it in his mouth and ate that pepper. And it took him 3 days to recover. And he was that close to having to check himself into the hospital. And then, but he survived to tell about it. And he went on this talk show and he was talking about it because that's his business, is making these. He creates these crossbreeds and stuff. And now this is just new as of this year. So it's now the world's hottest pepper at the moment. However, he's got some new ones coming down the pipes for next year, so it's always nice to see that. It's nice to see somebody who creates these things take the punishment. Yeah.
Well, it is fascinating, but there is a limit to what you. I mean, I make my shake out of the dried peppers. I've got a bunch of dried peppers from last year.
You have ghost peppers and
I got all sorts of stuff in
Carolina
there.
Reapers and all that stuff.
It's just heat.
Yeah,
and all it does is add heat to the food. And I get a debate especially from my dear sister, who I love dearly. She says, it just wrecks the taste of the food. No, it doesn't change the taste.
It amplifies
What will change the taste sometimes is if you have some of this hot pepper sauce, the sauces that they have. Yeah. That actually has a taste to it.
Yeah.
But what I do is just add heat. And when I was in Mexico a number of years ago in Manzanillo, I shared some of this stuff, my shake, with a local Mexican guy, and the word was spread. They were fighting over my jar of shake before I left. I had to leave it there. They were offering money for it, like pesos, and it's good stuff. I mean, it really, you just put a little shake, just a tiny bit into your soup and that sort of thing. It just puts a little heat on it so that when you put too much on, of course you gag and choke and whatever, but you don't want to do that.
No, but
that's why I say these guys that are making the ghost peppers and the hottest pepper in the world, it is a bit of a contest, but I find them being useless. You don't need to have it that hot. Because what are you going to do? Have a pinpoint of pepper in your soup?
It's strictly for competition reasons.
Yeah, for fun.
We've created something that will just almost kill you. Okay, who wants to go first?
I know.
It's like, I know. Okay, I'm out.
I want to congratulate the class of 1964, the KSS graduation class. They're having their graduation reunion today. The grad reunion today at Capri, and lots of folks are in town celebrating.
This is
60th reunion of the class of 1964 KSS, Kelowna Secondary School, and an amazing day for them. people from all over the country, all over the province, and people like Mike Casey, who's come in from Australia, is going to be there. Mike Casey's an old friend from back in the in the days. He was kind of a neighbor of ours down. He lived over on off of Catter, and then of course one of his best friends, Roy Ueda, is going to be. We're going to be visiting on Sunday, and what I'm going to do is I'm setting up a marble thing on my putting green. I'm going to get some tape, and I'm going to set up that big circle that you shoot marbles, right?
Yeah,
you don't do that. People don't do that anymore, and it's too bad that people don't play
video
marbles.
games now. It's way
marbles were so much fun, and it was neat because you'd win marbles, and so the person with the biggest marble bag was king of the class. You know,
She had to bring a pillowcase.
Well, what we used is the old Seagram's whiskey. There's a Crown Royal bag, and I've got Charlie Faulkner's Crown Royal bag full of his marbles.
Really?
Right full. So we're going to have some fun tomorrow, shooting some marbles.
Sounds like fun.
But anyway, congratulations to all those folks. We were invited, but they're a little bit older. They're the older folks. So I said, well, you know what? I'll my blessings and all that for you, but I don't hang out with old people. I just it's an inside joke, Ken. Class of 64. I was a class of 67. So anyway, we're going to we're harvesting our Carmen cucumbers. How's your Carmen cucumber doing?
Just ate 2 of them the other day.
Aren't they a great variety?
And they're just the flavor is wonderful, and they're not bitter, and they're just really nice. It's not really blooming right now, so I'm waiting for a couple more blooms. It looks like there's buds coming.
It's an odd thing, though. Sometimes they'll form a cucumber with no bloom. Like it's just a weird, like they're gynoecious or something. They're a greenhouse cucumber, and they say don't plant other cucumbers close. Have you got other cucumbers close by?
Yeah.
Well, then why are they saying that?
I don't know. But yeah, and it's not. I guess it's starting to grow a bit. But yeah, I don't care. I just need cucumbers.
Yeah, it's a good a good vegetable.
Well, the Carmen, just from watching you grow them for the last few years, is just watching the sheer numbers. Once they get sized up, they really produce, and it's a beautiful long English cucumber. Because
the seed was so expensive, I tried to let one grow into a big fatty yellow cucumber. Still no seeds. I don't know where they get the seeds from those guys.
Yeah, it's a hybrid of some sort. Yeah,
how do they
probably
do that?
F1 hybrid of some sort.
Because they don't. You can't get any seeds out of it. It's seedless. It's a seedless cucumber, and no spines on it. It's a darn good
like
cucumber.
Those seedless watermelons, right? There's no seeds there either.
Yeah,
so it's a hybrid that they're creating and by cross pollination.
With those, you got all your. We used to get the packages of them, and you'd have all one color, like blue or something, and then a red, 2 or 3 red ones in there. The males in those hybrid or in those seedless watermelons.
Right. Oh yeah.
Remember? Yeah. They'd have a male and female thing going on.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Yeah. Well, we do invite your calls. We're getting close to the end of the first part of the show. We got a whole hour left after this from 9 to 10. And we invite your calls, 250-862-2525, to get through to us locally here in Kelowna. But if you're listening online or if you're listening in Victoria or in Penticton, if you want a toll-free number, it's 1-888-780-4273. And that would be getting you through to Ken and I, and we love to hear from you. We love talking about your gardening experiences. So if you have anything to report, in other words, what's doing well this year and that sort of thing, we love to hear about that too. It's all about gardening, the gardening experience, and we've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, I'm still impressed by the old-fashioned Shasta daisy. Still blooming its heart out.
Yeah.
It's still one of the brightest colored plants in the garden. You think of white. Not always, it's not the first color that comes to mind as being a bright color, but it is the brightest color in the garden. It just is. You can see it from a mile away. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. Lots of white was the yuccas were looking great this year too.
Yeah, they performed really nicely.
There's some lots of white stuff, and the white phlox. There's lots of white phlox going on.
Yeah, and mine, my summer phlox are just starting to bud, so getting going. That's Phlox Davidii, one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. We are going to take our break now at the bottom of the hour, at the top of the hour, actually. It's the 10 o'clock, it's the 9 o'clock break. We'll be back for a whole hour after we come back after this short break. And we are back with you on a beautiful sunny day, a sunny Saturday morning in the Okanagan, and it's sunny just about everywhere. And we are right in the thick of gardening season. And I'm hoping that the gentleman Louis on the line is our friend Louis from Peachland. Is it Louis from Peachland?
Exactly.
You know, I've been thinking about you, man, because we haven't talked for a little while, and I've been so busy with everything, including our new little baby, our little grandbaby.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we got her name is Audrey, and she's a beauty. We're all over her, you know. I mean, that's amazing.
Excellent.
However, I do want to get together with you again. You're such a giant guy, and I appreciate it. What have you got on your up your sleeve today, Louis?
Well, I have a couple of things here. Hello. First of all, complain.
Okay.
How come in Canada we call it pepper? It has nothing to do with pepper, just because they're hot. Yeah. They call it paprika.
Paprika.
You go to the United States or whole Europe, it's paprika. Okay. But here it's pepper. Mm-hmm. That is, pepper grows on bushes and little wooden pellets, pebbles. Yeah.
Peppercorns.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that's one thing.
Okay.
Then I planted these fire peppers, jalapenos, whatever. I got 3-4 different sorts my sister sent me from Europe, okay? Mm-hmm. But gee, I tell you, the one sort, they're really ambitious and done his share, and then something came and eat them off. So I don't know what the hell. It could have been I don't have no marmots. But it could be I would say, the chickens, these quail.
Quail, yeah. Well, it's not your terrorists, the deer.
No, the old terrorist. It's unreal. You put something on the ground right there, and oh boy, I tell you. But anyway, the deer they would not eat because, like you said, if you eat that, the steam comes out your ear.
That's right. Louis, I got to ask you something. How's your tobacco plant going?
Oh, they're beautiful. Only thing I didn't put enough in. I'm not only lazy, but somehow I lost my ambition and my leg. My right leg is sick.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
I am not allowed to go on the sunshine, but I have to, you know. And then by the evening, it is just about that skin rots right off.
Oh, dear. No, I know. It's awful for you. And you're such a dear man, and I hate to see that happening. But we are going to come out for a visit at some point here.
Very good. Listen, I have a question. I mean, you are into flowers and what have you. A long time ago, by my first house in Delta, I planted rose bushes. 2 rose bushes. They were climbing red. It came blazer.
Blaze. Yeah, improved blaze.
Where the hell I can buy they?
They still sell blaze. No, they don't. Ken's just shaking his head.
It's trying to find. A lot of the old varieties are hard to find.
Blaze, and then they had one that came out called the improved blaze. It's got to be. I mean, it was the best red climber you can get. Yeah. That, and there was another one called, it was an Irish
Don
thing.
Juan.
Yeah, Don Juan was a good one. That's a big flower
Irish.
one.
Because I planted right and left. I built a kind of a show gate at that time, and I planted one to the right, one to the left, and the whole thing was full of red, beautiful, the whole season long. Eh?
Yeah, I know. They were a repeat bloomer.
And fantastic, you know, it's not like just one time, the whole summer through.
Yeah.
So now, Blazer King, that is the question.
It's called Blaze. Well, you know, just check around. I'll do some research for you too, Louis. But also, Dublin Bay was another good red too. Dublin Bay.
Yeah, it's a climber.
A climber, yeah.
I need a climber. I tell you, we had that two cedar right beside the house, the entrance there, remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We had to cut it out because they say there's fire danger in
right.
case that, and then we're going to have a barbecue in the house.
Yeah, I know.
Out the chainsaw, out it come. My wife was crying like hell, but what the hell, eh?
Yeah. Louis,
so I would like to plant there, right and left, something nice, what is really... Yeah. And what else should I tell you? That this peppers, you don't eat it like you take it off the vine and eat it. You can't do that. You have to make salsa out of it.
Well, yeah.
Salsa. My wife, she puts it in a blender, and then it goes in glasses jars. Then some get frozen, and some we taking out just a tip of the knife. Put it in a soup. Because I like hot, but not extremely hot like the steam comes to my ear.
No, that's right. Louis, are you still keeping bees?
Yes.
Oh man, I want to come out and see what's going on there. We're going to come out for a visit probably this coming week. We'll find a day and we'll come out and see you.
Yeah. Okay. Come on Friday.
Friday?
Yeah, okay. Come on Friday because. Then I have always a meeting, like a safety meeting,
maybe there you go.
A brewski or two,
Gotcha. Okay, buddy. Take care.
Yeah. Around 2:00, eh?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
We'll make it a date.
Take care, eh?
Thanks. Louis. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. Look at that. A casual conversation with a friend on the garden show, which is what we do. This is we're just here, and we do our thing. And Louis is such an avid gardener, and he's got all sorts of things going on. He's got his bee. He keeps bees. He does bronze sand casting. Makes these beautiful bronze things. Fascinating man. Has been phoning into the garden show for many, many, many years, and it was this year first that I've actually gone out and met him. And what a fascinating guy he is. And lots of people that listen to the garden show are fascinating. There's no question about that. They're all good people that listen to the garden show.
Yeah, you bet. Absolutely.
Ken, I start lots of stuff in the greenhouse. Lots, and one of the things that I do start is sunflowers.
Yeah.
Do you know that the volunteers, I'll show it today because we're going to come by my place today and do a movie. The sunflower that I planted, that I started in the greenhouse, I put it in the garden, and it was 3 feet tall when I put it out.
Wow.
I put it out, and then right close by, there was a little volunteer from last year.
Last year, yeah.
It's now the same height.
Yep.
They're both now up here, and they're both the same height, and the volunteer has caught up to the one that I had started in the greenhouse.
Yeah, they're super fast growing. They can grow about 6 inches a day sometimes.
But what is it that's the one I started in the greenhouse? Is it just...
It's not established as fast. Like when a seed, anything that grows from seed is immediately established. It never goes out of establishment. So that means it's at optimum growing speed and conditions right out of the gate. So anytime you grow something from seed, it's growing at the rate at which the roots grow and the top grows at the same speed, the same balance, and it's sweet spot. You can't beat that for speed and accuracy. When you take something, grow it in a pot, and then it struggles in the pot, its roots get all bound up, and then you take it out and put it in the garden. It's stalled for 3 weeks,
bonsai.
Before it gets growing, 3 weeks or so, and then it starts to grow, and then all of a sudden it takes a while, another 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden it goes. So even if it's bigger when you plant it out, that little seedling will just shoot right past it because it's just got that beautiful balance between top and root and the way it goes.
So next year, I'm just going to take my seed and plant it right in the garden.
Yeah.
It's just going to be as fast.
We have them all over the entire property because we've been growing these sunflowers for years, and they just come up wherever they come up, and all we do is weed out the ones we don't want, and then we leave a few here and leave a few there, and the birds love it, and they're also good for pollinators, so they're a good plant.
Good plant.
Lovely.
Ken, we're going to take a short break. We do invite your calls. Give us a shout, and we will chat gardening and whatever is on your mind as far as concerns in your garden, or if you just want to offer us some advice, too, like spraying Bovex in the face of a deer. That's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So we're going to take a short break now. We'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. We are back with you on a beautiful Saturday morning. And we have Jack from Kelowna on the air. Good morning, Jack.
Good morning. Good morning. You're talking about fertilizing, and my dahlias are just going crazy. But they need water twice a day. Boy, do they get limp if you don't water them.
Mm-hmm. Are they in the ground, Jack?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're in the ground.
Yeah, but they still
they need their moisture. Mm-hmm.
Oh yes. Now that means they should also be fertilized. What do you put on them?
Any good water soluble if you want, or you could sprinkle a granular around there. But just be careful when you're using a granular fertilizer. You don't want to burn with it. But I mean, just the interesting thing is you go into the garden center. They've got clematis food. They got tomato food. They've got evergreen food. They got all sorts. It's all just marketing because. If you put an evergreen food on your lawn, you're going to get a green lawn. This is not going to turn into an evergreen.
Okay, and so pots, they should be fertilized probably once every 2 days.
Yeah, that's about. Yeah, you could. Yeah, depending on because you're watering probably every day, right?
At least.
It's so hot. Yeah, sometimes I do mine twice a day. Yeah. I do one at 10 a.m. and one at about 4:30 p.m. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I feed out of those. I'll feed the morning sometimes with just water, and the evening with the fertilizer, or vice versa. So I give them every day myself, but
Okay, well that's I don't mind. I just didn't want to over fertilize them. No. Yeah. So and you say the granular. That's what I thought because I've got flower beds, and probably the best idea is to use the water soluble stuff, not the granular anymore.
Well, the water soluble is safer to use.
It's better in the planters too.
It's better in your planters. But a granular fertilizer, if it's used carefully, is longer lasting than your water soluble. I've got a question for you though, Jack.
Yes.
Your wonderful bean, your Barcelona bean that you gave me, it's beautiful. It's climbing so high now and so fat and so wonderful. I think instead of using a ladder to clean my eaves troughs, I'm just going to climb up the beanstalk.
I was just about to say use a ladder because I threw some in. I didn't want them the way they were last year, but I just threw a few in a couple of weeks ago at certain different spots, and they're going nuts. And they take over. I threw them in behind my dahlias where they were last year, and now they're starting to circle the dahlias. So
now the question I have is when do they start producing? I haven't had any flowers on them.
Well, I don't know about that. You were talking about and Ken were talking about the flowers on beans about half an hour ago.
Yeah.
So
are yours blooming?
Oh gosh, no! I put mine in far too late. Mine were just an afterthought to see whether they'd work or not. But mine were blooming August, and as you saw pictures of, they climbed up to the roof.
I know they're great.
And I couldn't give them enough of them away. There were so many.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Yours aren't inside. You replanted them outside.
Oh no, I put them outside where I was showing you in that little corner. Let's fill that right up. It's really great.
And they're growing high.
Oh, they're going nuts. Yep. Big leaves, too.
You or Ken mentioned that as soon as it gets a little cooler, things will start to set.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, maybe that's it.
Yep.
Follow your own advice.
That's what we need. Jack, thanks for the call, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Time to get to the golf course.
Okay. Go for it. Before it gets too warm. Yep. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Yeah, you betcha, Jack. What a gardener! He's a real avid gardener.
He's got incredible blooms on that property.
He's an annual gardener. Lots of annual color.
Annual color. It's so fabulous to see. I remember years ago when I first came to Kelowna, it was almost a competition. The amount of annuals people would put in the gardens was just unbelievable, and it's just so lovely to see because they really do pound out the color all summer.
That's where you get your color. We were talking about color there. Summer color is hard to get in a perennial. Not hard, but it's more difficult to get.
It's more difficult,
and timing is important, and choosing your varieties. Irene is joining us. Good morning, Irene.
Good morning, Dawn and Ken.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm one of those that listens to you every Saturday, too.
Oh, thank you so much.
Anyway, I'm calling in about my amaryllis.
Mm-hmm.
I have an amaryllis that didn't want to grow last winter, but I left it there because I didn't have the heart to throw it out. But lo and behold, it started to grow sometimes in March, and it just has leaves. And, of course, no bloom to be had. And however, in the last couple of months, it's growing or shooting young ones out on the side. I don't know what to do with it. Would you like to have it and experiment with it?
Hey, when somebody offers me a plant, I never say no.
Oh, well, that would be fine if you can have about 7 growing on the sides there in the poor pot. I don't know if it's going to break or not.
Well,
trying to get the amaryllis out, but I can't. It's stuck.
I'll tell you this, though. Our good friend Dan Bruce has an amaryllis, a hypistrum, actually. The true amaryllis he has as well, but the hypistrum is what you have. And that can be just grown in the pot. Let the pups come up, the little bulblets and everything, and just let them fill that thing solid. And if you let it go dormant in late August, kind of just let it dry right out, and then cut it back, and then just let it get cool a little bit. Not necessarily in the fridge, but in a cool spot in the house, maybe, for a few weeks, and then bring it out and put it in the sunshine, and it should bloom for Christmas.
Yeah, but how long do I leave it in a cool place?
About 3 to 5 weeks.
Yeah, but how cool does it have to be? Because I had this thing in the garage over the winter.
Oh.
Or until about November.
Yeah.
And it just didn't want to...
Yeah. Well, they do have a mind of their own. There's no question about that.
Mine just finished blooming.
Yeah.
Just like last week. So, one of them.
But
I have 7 or 8 of the plants right now, and they're awesome, but they all bloom at different times.
Different times, yeah. They have a mind of their own. What color is yours?
Not necessarily at Christmas.
Yeah. No, that's right. What color is yours, Irene?
Oh, it's this beautiful, beautiful red. Originally, when I bought it, it had 4 or 6 blooms on it, and I had to support the things.
One called Red Lion is a common one, isn't it? It's probably that's what it is, yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, okay, now if I just keep it in the pot, I have it in the house. I don't have it outside. In the fall, like you said, I should take it out of the pot?
Well, do you have email?
Yeah.
Well, if you email me, dawn@thegardenexpert.com, I'll send you my sheet on amaryllis.
Uh-huh.
And that'll give you some instruction.
Okay, so you don't want it?
Well, hey.
We don't want you to give up on it yet.
We don't want you to give up, but I'm telling you.
Well, I'm like your friend Louis in Pizza, and I'm losing my touch.
Well, if you get a chance, give me a call at home. I'm still in the book, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, so you look me up, and my home number is there, and you can give me a shout, and we'll arrange something. We'll do a plant exchange.
All right. That sounds great, Dawn. Okay.
There you go.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, dear.
Have a good, wonderful day, both of you.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
calling.
Stay cool.
Well, yeah, we'll stay cool. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye now. Okay. Yeah, I've never refused a plant. Well, I have. I've there are certain plants that I don't want in the garden.
Some plants take up too much room, and that's the problem. But
they want to be the only guy in town. Some of them
with the amaryllis group, the hypistrums, they're actually. I find them to be pretty low maintenance. Like, I don't really do anything special with them. I'm not trying to get them to bloom at Christmas, which is where it gets to be a little tricky. I just grow them, and then when they bloom, I grow them. I know that after they bloom, I got to grow them on to regrow that bulb to get it nice and fat. So I start feeding it and growing it, and sometimes people plant them out in the garden for a while, or they just keep them warm, keep them happy. Grow as much as you can, and after about maybe 4 or 5 months of growing, then you just stop watering it, let the thing slow down, let it go dormant, and then that dormancy period is the big mystery, is how long is it going to stay dormant. And the refrigeration, you always used to mention that would be, you could put it in a bag. And what that does is it just resets the bulb so that it knows it's a hard stop. You know, like, that's it. This is the end of summer, even though the plant in wild would never experience those conditions, right? But it's kind of a dead stop. And then when you take it out of the refrigerator and you just kind of keep it on the dry side and you're waiting to see the little leaf to poke out of the top, as soon as it pokes out, then you start watering a little bit, just a little at a time, and it starts to produce something. Sometimes it'll go leaves and then a flower. Sometimes it'll go a flower, then a leaf. You just don't know what it's going to do. So right now I have 3 or 4 of them that went through the entire dormant process, and now they're producing leaves. But 2 of them, one of them already bloomed and finished just last week. It was a single white, and then I have a double white that's coming on, which it blooms about 2-3 times a year. So it's just because as soon as I do that process of sort of like, when it blooms, then I go for 3 or 4 months, then I dormant it for a little period and then start over again. So you can get it like at least twice a year, I find, a lot of times. But
when we were in Australia, it was in, I'm going to say it was in late October, November. It was their spring. It was their spring. And I drove by a yard that had a mass planting of red amaryllis, hippestrums.
Wow.
You know, we keep correcting ourselves here, folks, because amaryllis is specific genus. Hippeastrum is the one that we often call amaryllis, and they're related, but they're not. One is
there
the
only
genus.
one amaryllis? So I think there's not many types, and they're not commonly available.
No.
The actual true amaryllis.
Dan Bruce has one.
Dan has one, yeah.
But anyway,
one of the very few.
I stopped and took a picture of this bed of amaryllis or hippeastrums growing in Australia. And what I should have done was stopped and talked to them about it and say, well, what goes on? Of course, it doesn't freeze there, so they can leave it. They can leave them out all winter.
Yeah.
But their summer was coming up, which is our winter, and they were in full bloom. So they were blooming in the Australian spring, massive bloom.
Yeah, so sort of like regular bulbs.
Like our tulip bulbs, and it's blooming in the spring.
So they do go through a bit of a dormant period, and then they start up again. But it's just interesting what's triggering the dormancy in those areas. Whether the day length actually changes or not is mysterious, because I'm not sure in that particular area. It could be a bit of a factor.
Well, I think they do have the daylight change.
Yeah, they do have the days slightly changing, and then slight cooling. In the what they call winter. It's still not like a winter like we have, but it's cooler for sure.
We're going to take a short break here. It's the bottom of the hour. We invite your calls, and we will be back with the garden show after this short break. Well, we were talking about hoses and how they're frustrating and they kink and they do all sorts of bad things to you. Nothing worse than a hose. You walk around the corner and the water stops flowing, and there's a kink.
So
you start flipping and trying to whipping it around, and go on. And you finally have to walk over and unkink it and walk. It's awful. It's an awful feeling in the garden. So I bought a new hose, and I'm happy with it. Cost, by the time the taxes and everything, it was close to $100 for a $50 hose. Yeah. It's a dram. D-R-A-M-M, dram. A very common, they came out with the water breakers and all sorts of things, the dram company. So it's a good hose, and you get what you pay for with a hose. Yeah. Otherwise, you get hosed.
You get hosed. That's what happens. Yeah, I'm not a fan of hoses in general, just because I have to use them all the time, and I'm always frustrated by them because the way they don't behave.
Yeah.
So but over the 45 years of being a hoser, dragging hoses through greenhouses and through gardens and all kinds of things, you just do it all day, every day. Like I can use a hose very efficiently and effectively, and it's like I've developed all these different techniques to using them as well, which I've realized now. But it's just funny that how much you can just despise the thing if they just don't behave sometimes. And if you can get a good hose, it's worth its weight in gold. And
if you got your Felcos on you, sometimes hoses make me so mad I just cut them off.
Snip them off. I've done that. I've done that lots of times.
See you.
Snip.
Yep. Jean is joining us. Good morning, Jean.
Good morning. Okay, raspberries. I have 2 different varieties all entwined into each other.
Great.
Super planted.
Yeah.
One is an everbearing, and the other one is your spring.
Right.
The spring did wonderful this year. Big, beautiful berries all done. And the everbearing is finished, and I've got massive new shoots coming up.
Yep.
My question, do I cut the everbearing ones down?
Yeah, and anything that's finished fruiting can go.
Yep.
Okay.
But that new growth that you see there is next year's fruit on your June bearing.
And it's this fall's growth on your everbearing.
That's what I thought. And I just wasn't sure if I could take out all of the stuff that's already fruited. Like you can see, where you've picked all the fruit off of it.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
So I'll go and attack that because it's so thick and bushy right now. I figured it could probably breathe a little.
Yeah, exactly.
And I prefer the taste of raspberries to strawberries.
So do I.
I just think they're, and my buddy Charlie Faulkner pointed that out to me years ago. He said, I prefer a raspberry. So now I've been testing my taste buds. Do I like a raspberry or do I like a strawberry? I prefer the raspberry.
My grandmother grew the most massive raspberry garden. And we didn't, as kids, didn't even realize it. We grew up in the South Kelowna area.
Yep.
And, she had a massive garden and raspberries galore. And we grew up in raspberry jam and going out and picking all the time.
Yep.
Took it for granted.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Well, that's great to hear from you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear.
Good cleaning up. Thanks.
Yep.
Bye.
Awesome.
Bye-bye now.
Thanks for calling.
Now, the 2025 Okanagan Historical Society Kelowna branch calendar is available now, celebrating 100 years, Ken, of the rail into Kelowna. In 1925, when my dad had been here for 3 years, he was now 15 years old. That's when the railway came in down from Vernon.
Okay.
Prior to that, there was no rail into Kelowna. It was all done by steamship. All the commerce was done by steamship up and down the lake.
Yeah.
The Sycamoose, the Okanagan, all these different steamships, paddle wheelers.
Yeah.
And I just want to tell the listeners, both here, we don't have to tell the people in Penticton because that's exactly where the old Sycamoose is in Penticton. But people in Victoria, if you want to see something that's really special, or people from Kelowna who have driven through the Penticton area and seen the boat sitting there, the paddle wheeler, the Sycamoose, if you want to go and see something very, very special, go and visit the Sycamoose. It is it's a remnant of what the commerce of the Okanagan once was. And all these different landings, Okanagan landings and Caesar's Landing and all the different landings, that's where these boats would pull in. Pick up people, pick up produce, pick up fruit, and all my, my dad moved to Kelowna in 1922 before the trains came along, and before the train came down to Kelowna. So they had a boxcar full of their stuff, their luggage. They had all their clothes, all their furniture. They had some farm equipment and whatnot in this boxcar, whole boxcar load. That boxcar got unloaded onto the Sycamoose, and it came down the lake. Not the boxcar itself, but they unpacked the boxcar.
Yeah.
And the Sycamoose is that big. It's got lots of storage underneath in the cargo area. And it's got all these staterooms and everything. It's a beautiful boat. So people in Penticton are very familiar with it. But anybody from Victoria that's coming into the Okanagan for a vacation or for a break, do consider going and seeing the Sycamoose paddle wheeler in Penticton. Of course, it's not running anymore. It's on not dry dock, but it's sitting on land. You can't really, it's not going to move anymore. But all the steam engine, everything's there. The engines and everything are there.
Nice. And
all the mechanics and everything. It's a fabulous thing to see. However, that is what the theme of the new calendar that's coming out, that is out now. And you can call to get yours. You can call Chris Jennings, actually. Chris Jennings is one of the people you can call, and that is 250-862-2801, 250-862-2801, to find out where, he'll be able to get you a calendar. I'll talk to him, and if they're listening, if you're listening, or Bob Hayes is listening, give us a call and let us know exactly where we can pick that calendar up, because there's limited supply. But they make great gifts. Doesn't matter whether you're from Victoria, from Penticton, from Vernon, from Kelowna. That calendar is a wonderful thing to have. I have one on my wall in my office every year, and it's great. Pictures of the rail, and we're celebrating 100 years since rail came in. Now, of course, we're also celebrating about 20 years since rail has been here.
That it's been gone.
Because rail's gone now, too. It's fascinating how that works over the years. The sycamores and all the boats are gone, and now, We've got Ray joining us. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey.
I was wondering if you can tell me what to do with a patch of irises that are getting overgrown and leaves are starting to turn yellow. They're really quite crowded in there, and I don't want as many as I've got. So is this a good time to do something with them?
Yeah, we're definitely in that realm right now. We often say that August is iris month, and that means that once you get into the beginning of August, it's time to start reducing the size of them and ripping them out and replanting them into areas where you want them. And either discarding, composting, or giving away some of those irises to friends, neighbors, or just, like I say, just composting them is a good option.
Yep,
and because they're very prolific, and over the years they kind of get out of hand. And you notice on the inside of the group, it kind of dies out, and then the outer edges are always nice and healthy.
Right.
So the goal is to get a chunk of that nice healthy stuff on the outside and kind of move it or reposition it in the garden right where you want it, maybe away from other plants. It has a little bit more room to grow. And if you do it now, or you could do it through the month of August, is good timing. And those will root in very nicely by next year and actually bloom and perform. So,
should I cut the tops off of them?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I deadhead them, and even if the leaves are looking ratty a bit, like looking brown, if I don't want to look at them, I'll usually just go in and snip the leaves down to about 4 inches tall or so.
Perfect.
And then they'll start to shoot up again later, but that's all good.
Yeah, super.
All right.
Thanks for the help.
Okay, thanks for calling.
Thanks, Ray.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, iris are a great Okanagan plant. Great plant anywhere, really. Yeah,
I love
great.
the variety. There's so many different colors.
It is wonderful. Now, I enjoy my variegated. I've got some regular iris, and of course we're talking about the rhizomus, the German iris, versus the bulbous iris. Iris is a huge family.
It's
a huge genus, and some of them are bulbous, some of them are rhizomes. And the rhizomes definitely, they start fighting with each other.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of perennials, That's the thing with perennials. They're nice. They come back every year and they bloom every year, whatever. But they do need that extra work, don't they?
Yeah, well, to keep them healthy and happy, it's when you start moving them around, they just kick into gear and they don't hold back. You get nice big leaves, and then when it's time for them to bloom, they perform like mad. It's just doing it at the right timing is key.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We are going to the phone lines again, and Addie is joining us. Good morning, Addie.
Good morning, guys. How about you?
We are 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I thought you were going to say it's a little too warm, and I was going to remind you about January. But anyway, that's okay, so my trumpet plant, the growing one, the woody one, it's just very, very sparse at the bottom. And then it's got all these flowers at the top, and it's climbing my roof. And I'm wondering if I could cut it down to about 5 feet.
This is a campsus, like the trumpet vine?
The trumpet, the one that grows the little orange flowers, the clumps of orange flowers.
Yeah, trumpet vine, or the hummingbird vine is sometimes called.
Yeah, you wouldn't normally cut them now, other than if you absolutely had to.
Not now, but I'm talking like maybe at the end of August.
Yeah, no, I would be inclined to keep it to the dormant season to cut them, and you can cut them quite hard actually, and you can do just about anything you want to them. Generally, what happens is because of the cold weather and the cold winters, sometimes they die back a bit anyway. But in the springtime is traditionally when you cut them really hard, clean them all up, and get them ready for the year. And they respond to wherever you cut them to. If you cut them to 3 feet high, they grow from there. I had some this year we cut right to the ground, and they all shot up from the ground again. So that they're actually harder to kill than what you would think.
Oh, good. Okay, so I can cut them down to 2 feet if I wanted to. It's just that they're climbing my roof, and I don't want the snow collecting there to damage my roof.
Yeah, you could cut them off for sure in the fall just to get them out of the way, and then re-prune again in the spring as needed.
And Addie, if you email me, I'm going to send you a picture of my buddy's campsis that he prunes back to the nubs every year. However, one thing I'm thinking, Ken, if Addie prunes it back hard, is that not going to possibly stimulate sucker growth?
I don't know. It's sure going to grow like mad, that's for sure.
Yeah.
They grow in every different direction, and so if you leave a little bit of a framework, it kind of keeps them going. But as you're saying, Don, I'd be cutting off any suckers that shoot from the ground and promote the growth up top, and hopefully it all sticks together. They're pretty easy.
When is dormant time? Like what month or what more or less? Middle of September or when?
No, it's more like October through till March.
Oh, really? Okay. Other thing is, my lilies, oh my God, the heat is just done. They can't even open up because they immediately get burnt.
Yeah, they're struggling a little bit this year. Mine are. Yeah.
I have mine growing in a little bit of shade, in part shade, and it seems to be helping. But even them, I know their life is shortened when it's over 40 degrees.
The only one that I've got happening is the stargazer. It is in about 50% shade, maybe 60% shade, and it's just starting to break open now. But the rest of them are all they open in the morning, and by noon they're fried.
Yeah, and make sure they don't dry out, because that's one of the keys while they're blooming. That they'll shed their flower right away if they're at all dry. And they're such a beautiful plant. Lovely.
Yeah, well, that's just it. It's too bad that it's such a short period. But anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Keep cool.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Addie.
Okay,
thanks, Addie.
Take
care.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Now, we actually have to take a break.
Yep.
Don't we? Yeah, we got to take our last break of the day, and we'll do that. We'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. We're back with the Garden Show, and we're just getting used to that new theme song. That's pretty cool. I still listen in the back, and I don't hear the old one, but that's okay. The new ones are great. We like it. Mm-hmm. We better get to the phone lines here because we only got a few minutes left. Renee has joined us. Good morning, Renee.
Good morning, gentlemen. My question is, I have an ornamental plum tree, had it about 20 years. Beautiful. This is the first year that it did not blossom. Am I in trouble? Mm-hmm. I feel like I am.
Well, the tree's not in trouble in the future. It's just that was that January freeze. That's why there's no fruit on peaches and cherry, a lot of cherry damage and whatnot. So there's bloom buds that got damaged. Is the foliage looking okay?
Well, it's pretty sparse.
Is it a purple-leafed one?
Yeah. And unfortunately, my neighbor's got this pretty much the same one, and we just watched them chop it down the other day. So I'm worried that mine's on the same pathway.
Yeah, a lot of them died in the last 2 years just because they're just not, they can't survive those temperatures beyond about minus 25 degrees Celsius. So here in the Okanagan, we were getting minus 30 last year, minus 33, the year before, minus 32, minus 33. And so those cold temperatures zapped a bunch of them the previous winter, and this winter, recent one, zapped a bunch more. And it's really sad because these are big, healthy trees. They were fine, up until that point. And then all of a sudden, and that's the symptom for sure, is that the leaves thin right out. The tree is surviving on it's just the energy it's got stored in it, and the roots are suffering. They'll sometimes shoot up from the roots, but it's not a good thing, So I would just say if you get enough leaves on yours and you have if we have a mild winter this year, then it could recover, and it can take a year or two for them to come back, but they can come back.
Is there anything I can do to fertilize or help it along its way?
Well, we're coming to the end of the growth phase right now for the year. So if you were going to give them anything, it's just like lawn fertilizer. If it was in a lawn, you're feeding the lawn, it's getting tons and tons of food.
You're right. Okay,
so it doesn't
that's
really
what we're
need
doing.
any.
So,
Yeah.
okay, we're doing everything we can, but just watching it sort of spindle away, and I don't want to lose it.
Yeah, Renee, and you want to look down at the base and make sure you don't see any gumming and bleeding at the base of the tree, because that could be peach borer on there, and that's an issue too. So check that out.
Okay, good. Thanks for your help.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for calling.
Okay, bye now.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, that was the topic of conversation this year, was that darn freeze we had in January. And of course,
those plums, like purple leaf plums all over town, flowering plums, stone dead all over the place. There's still lots of them out there just sitting there dead, and it's a tough one. It's really a tough one.
Yeah, it was kind of an anomaly, really, because 2 years in a row, that part is an anomaly when you get 2 years in a row like that. And both the freezes came after very warm periods of time.
Yeah.
And especially this past January, when we had mild weather, we thought, boy, we're out of the glue here. And then I phoned you, or I texted you, and I said, temperatures dropping at minus 29, according to the thing, in the next few days. And you went, ooh, man.
That's not good.
Not good at all. And we knew something bad was going to happen, and it certainly did. So that was the topic of conversation we had pretty much all spring. We've been talking about it.
Yeah.
We'll see the ramifications from that for years. Now, this morning in the newspaper, I read an article about the grape industry and how things are, changing. And they're really scrambling right now to resurrect some of the plants that were damaged and replant some of the ones that were damaged.
Same with the cherry. Cherries are also, I think that they're trying to diversify the different varieties that some of the cherry farms are growing, and trying to grow maybe just a bit more of some newer varieties. I've heard that there's some from Russia that are coming in that are just known to survive the cold snaps without any issues. And so, diversification is what happens when you're farming. Whatever the crop, you have to, protect your investment.
Yeah, for sure. And I think they'll come through as they always have. The Okanagan fruit industry has been pretty strong over the years, and it's had its ups and downs. But boy, I had a chat with a couple of growers when I was out at Grower Supply, and they were saying that it's an interesting year, to say the least. They were even talking. I got to phone Alan Reed and see what his pear crop is like, because this gentleman out at Growers, when I was having that chat with him 2 or 3 weeks ago, he says his pear crop is devastated. Yeah. And I wouldn't have thought pears would have been nailed. But
not how cold it got. It was how it got cold. And there's other plants and things in the gardens. The Rose of Sharon suffered a lot this winter.
Yes.
A lot of those died out, and some of them just injured. I had 2 at my house that died and 1 that survived. And the one that survived is fine. It's looking great. It's just a location thing, the ones that are more exposed definitely suffered from the cold.
What about Weigela this year?
Well, same as always. There's certain ones that are just not as hardy as others. The Red Prince is beautiful and just hardy as can be, and it seems like a lot of other varieties are fine. Some of the hybrids are not as tough. But you just never really know which is which, and because sometimes you'll see them die and then you don't know what it was, like what variety was that, and nobody seems to know, so you can't really say, well, it was this particular one. But there is, I'm sure somewhere there's some documentation on the different types of Weigelias or Weigelas that have what their hardiness ratings are. Yeah.
Well, and that's the whole story of the winter we've just had. And I tell you what, we've enjoyed today. This garden show has been a good one today. We really appreciate you listening and all your calls. And right now, we're going to do the tips and the plants of the week.
You betcha.
Well, my tip of the week is that I always have said, don't put saucers under your plants and let them sit in water. But in this heat, sometimes a little bit of that is good, because I've been doing that with this cucumber, and it's really been thanking me because it gets a regular soaking. Yeah. I will do some leaching as well. My plant of the week is the common sunflower, the It is the Helianthus annuus, which is the common sunflower. Fabulous plant, and I'm really enjoying it. Great for feeding the birds.
You betcha. I also have a tip on a plant. My tip of the week is that right now, with the tomatoes coming on like gangbusters, they could need some calcium applied. So the calcium, food-grade calcium, which is available at garden centers, there's several different products available that will help to prevent the blossom end rot that happens as these tomatoes are sizing up and growing quite rapidly. They have a calcium deficiency and they need help. You have to coat the entire plant top to bottom and the fruit and everything to get that calcium in right through its skin. That's the way to go. All right, now my plant of the week is the white stargazer lily, which is just doing beautifully right now in my garden, and it's so lovely and fragrant. I just think it's a great plant. Again, in this heat, they are performing better when they're in part shade, that's for sure, lasting a little bit longer, but in the sun, they burn out quick. But there you go. It's still worth it. So, all right, that's my tips and plans for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com and Grower Coach on YouTube.
My Shigo quote of the week is, pain is a stimulus that triggers movement away from a threatening agent or condition. Trees cannot move away from a threatening agent or condition. So there you go.
There you go.
We'll see you next week with more of The Garden Show.